The Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance said on Wednesday that there were serious problems in the 2020 election and suggested that the then president, Donald Trump, did not actually lose the race. He was pressed on his response by a reporter later in the day on another campaign stop in Wilmington, North Carolina, saying, "I think that big tech rigged the election in 2020. That's my view, and if you would disagree with me, that's fine."
On the election of 2020, I've answered this question directly a million times. No. I think there are serious problems in 2020. So did Donald Trump lose the election? Not by the words that I would use. Okay? So look, we could, but look, I really couldn't care less.
Let's be very clear about what is actually happening here. We have the vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party denying that the election, the United States general election of 2020, was in some way fraudulent, despite over 60 court cases to the contrary. It would be fine if that was just the vice president's view, but this is clearly also the view of the presidential candidate, too, for the Republican Party in Donald Trump, who time and time again has claimed that he has been duped out of the election and that he is the rightful winner, and basically goes around pretending that he's the president and having secret communications with Vladimir Putin, or having meetings with Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago, or spending afternoons with Viktor Orban of Hungary. You see, what's happening here is that this is all prepping and setting up for another coup. Slightly different to the last one of 2020, only this time Republicans plan to claim they won even when they didn't. And I firmly believe, and I've laid my cards on the table previously and I'll happily do it again, I don't believe that anybody in their right mind will vote for Donald Trump. Kamla Harris is the right candidate at the right time for the United States of America, to turn the page on the past and to lead us into a period in history that is less divisive, that is more inclusive, and that recognizes everybody, no matter what your background, no matter what your race, your gender, or your religious beliefs. And we've had so much negativity and hate and gaslighting and ignorance, frankly, from Donald Trump, that to now hear that J.D. Vance is not mincing his words. I mean, when he did that head-to-head debate with Tim Walz, the vice presidential debate, he also couldn't be drawn on whether or not Trump lost the election in 2020. This is how much power a despot like Donald Trump has over not just his supporters, but clearly on the people closest to him. And J.D. Vance is an anomaly on this because previously, as we know, we've seen the evidence that he has been very critical of Donald Trump. And this just proves how two-faced he is, that he's been able to do a 180 and now is not just claiming that Trump is, the greatest and supporting his candidacy, but is also aligned with him on their fraudulent claim that the election was stolen from them in 2020. A reminder that Joe Biden got more votes than any president has got in history. Donald Trump likes to claim that he got more votes than any president in history. He seems to ignore that Joe Biden got a whole lot more. And this, unfortunately, is my fear about the November 5th election this year. Because if they're saying that about 2020, despite the court cases, despite all of the evidence to the contrary of their claims, what are they going to say about this one? I have no doubt that Kamala Harris will do extremely well in the popular vote, and she will trounce Donald Trump's figures. But when it comes to the Electoral College, which we know is stacked in favor of Republicans, the race is tight, and these swing states ultimately will determine who comes out victorious. But America is not going back to the Donald Trump years. I just want to interrupt myself for a moment to ask you to support me and independent journalism by becoming an exclusive member of this YouTube channel. You'll receive members-only content, early access to videos, monthly live-streamed Q&As, and much more. It costs just $3 a month for membership, which goes towards helping me grow the channel and create factual, accurate news commentary for those who need it most. Right now, the failures of corporate-owned media and the spread of disinformation and far-right propaganda has made finding authentic news coverage in the US difficult. And with your help, we can have a greater reach, whilst democracy hangs by a thread and the threat of fascism is closer than ever. I'll do my best to put this honest analysis out every day, but I really need your help to do that. If you're watching on a computer, simply click Join directly below or click the Join link in the description to join the 5 Minute News YouTube channel. If you already have a Patreon account, please subscribe at patreon.com/5minutenews. Thank you. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance now clearly represent the unhealthiest aspects of society. Election denial, as well as the misogyny and the racism and that extremism that this movement, this Christian nationalist far-right movement, brings with it. Kamala Harris is not just an exceptional individual, and think about how hard she's had to work to get ahead in a society and a culture that looks down on women and looks down on people of color. She has had to work so hard. And as I said in my video earlier when we were talking about the Fox News interview, where she was basically put in a very, very difficult position. And Brett Baer, the moderator or the interviewer, he was clearly under instructions to try and nail her with these awful questions and not give her time to answer and talking all over her and trying to expose her. And the thing with Kamala Harris is there's nothing to expose. She is who she is. She's the real deal. She has the experience. She's been the vice president. She recognizes how difficult it is to get through to these MAGA Republicans who are very much in the cult of Trump. And, there's so much to say about the opposition. There's so much to say about how dangerous Donald Trump is. There is so much to say about not going back to those 4 years, which from my memory, where shops were boarded up in case there were riots in the streets, the hatred, the racial hatred, the hate crime, the hate speech. It was a dark period for those 4 years. And, I am very proud to be living in the United States when we are just a couple of weeks away from Kamala Harris winning the presidency on merit and merit alone. She is our savior from the rise of fascism, the rise of Christian nationalism. She is our protector from this Handmaid's Tale like administration that Donald Trump, with his Federalist Society and Heritage Foundation supporters. That is what they plan for America. And Kamala Harris offers us really the kind of United States that has been consistent, or was consistent under Barack Obama and under Joe Biden. So not going back is definitely the right phrase. We have the right candidate. It's just whether or not the media can carry the message appropriately. And I think that Harris is saying all the right things, but to cut through, you need the messenger to be on your side. And with Fox, that was never going to happen. The more J.D. Vance talks and the more Donald Trump talks or sways and listens to music, the better for the Democrats in a way, because their language is aggressive, it's abusive, and it does not represent the America that I believe that most people care about. They are antiquated in their thinking, but they're also very naive. They underestimate the American people, and I think that is a terrible mistake to make. I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel on Wednesdays, co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.